Very recently, I finished The Last of Us Part 2 for the first time, and I always knew it wasn't an open world game, but it kind of surprised me how I really loved it because it was an open world. Because in the past, I've played games like Red Dead Redemption 2, and I love their open world aspect. I love being able to explore. I love being able to take side missions, all of that stuff. And obviously, The Last of Us isn't an open world game. It's very scripted, but while playing it, I also noticed it still gave you lots and lots of freedom. Naughty Dog came up with a very unique type of level design that I found made the game so much more fun and actually adds a lot of replayability. I like to think of their level design as almost like a funnel. You start in one place and you have so many options usually to get to one endpoint where you're a cutscene or just kind of like gets you in one place where it starts the next bit. And always usually acts like a funnel. You know, you start very narrow, you get very wide, there's a lot of options, and then it gets narrow again right at the end, funneling you to the next section. This allows you to, keep the story moving very fast and also, but not too fast. There's a pacing thing to it, but also at the same time, it doesn't completely feel linear. Okay, so here I made a mock SketchUp of a section of the map in Hillcrest, which is, I believe, is Seattle Day 2 for Ellie. So you can see the start, and then I have arrows pointing off of that leading to buildings. Those lines are main roads leading to other buildings, leading to another kind of like road and path, and they all end up at the end, which is a garage, which starts up a cutscene. You can see that you're not forced to take any one direction. There are multiple ways to get to the same place. However, it very kind of subtly pushes you to the right and then up through the building. And I think this gives the player an immense amount of freedom that you don't realize until you actually take a look at it. Because even if it feels linear, it's really not. And I think that in itself is amazing. And I love that you can just take as many options as you would like. People will always argue that open world games are better because you can explore more and all of that. And I do think there is some aspect with a game like Red Dead with their vast open world where there is a lot of detail and it is fun to explore. However, Red Dead has several points in the game, I know my first time playing it, where I didn't feel any urgency because they weren't telling me explicitly do this mission now and it's pertinent to the story. For instance, I'm not going to try to spoil too much. After a certain bank heist in the game, later in the game, John goes into prison, basically, goes into a penitentiary, and you're tasked with breaking him out. However, you literally don't have to for super long. You can leave him there for hours on hours as you explore the world. There's no rush to do that whatsoever, and I think that's detrimental to the pacing of the game. I think it removes all urgency. I also think as a player, you're going to forget what's happening, why you need to do this, all of that. So unless you move the story dies. The pacing dies. And it's really not the player's fault either. It's a fundamental game issue that I think Rockstar and many other open world games face. They also have good stories, but you don't remember the in-between of the stories all that well because it's just not that important. You need rhythm for a story to work. You need flow for a story to work. And that's why The Last of Us works. The story moments have rhythm, and that rhythm can push emotions onto the next. Naughty Dog knows this and gives you just enough room to make you feel like you're in control. You can move around a bit. You can take out enemies however you like. You can go quiet. You can go loud, whatever. You're not really wandering, though, are you? You're always moving forward towards another objective. You can always see the objective getting closer to you. And that keeps the story moving in a very, very nice way, which is inevitably linear. People hate linear. Linear design gets a horrible rep. But honestly, for a game that people praise for its story like Red Dead 2, a linear story with no open world would have done it great numbers. Obviously the open world helps, but if it was linear and some missions were tied together more, I know it happens in the game, but I'm talking John goes to prison, maybe you have to do the hot air balloon mission immediately after to prep or something like that. It doesn't happen like that, though. There are some missions where that kind of thing happens, but it's very rare. And that's why I think Naughty Dog did The Last of Us Part 2 very well. I know my gameplay isn't great, and I know the game in general isn't liked by fans, but you can't deny that the world they built in Seattle and eventually California is amazing. Despite it being linear, you feel like you've explored a significant amount of the places. And apparently The Last of Us Part 2 was supposed to be open world, and I'm very, very glad they never went down that route because this works so much better. So yes, as The Last of Us Part 2 isn't an open world game, I liked it more because of that. It's focused, it's deliberate, it gives you exactly the emotions they want you to feel, exactly how they want you to feel them. Red Dead 2, also an amazing game. I also love that game. It has a lot of issues in that sense, where you can wander, you can do missions out of order. It can create some sort of continuity issues, and I think that's not a huge deal. I don't think that's what Rockstar cares about, but it does lead to worse storytelling overall. That's just my opinions, though, and I think many people will disagree with me, but I just had to say this because I think it's very important, and I think Naughty Dog understands how to tell a story in a non-constricting way. Now, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm open to exploring this idea more. Feel free to prove me wrong in any way. I could be wrong. This is just how I feel, and I played the game. I finished Last of Us Part 2 a couple days ago. I did, in general, enjoy the game. I didn't think it should be as hated as people thought it was. I understand both sides, but I just tend to lean towards a more linear, focused type of game. I could always talk about God of War and how that game also does it really well, while actually I think technically being an open world, but I think that's all I'm going to talk about for today. Sorry for the lack of uploads. I'm trying to switch up the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you hated this, please let me know. Anyway, bye-bye.